A ton of airlines lack personality. Next time you're at an airport, just take a look around. You'll see a lot of white planes with modest logos. If you take a peek inside them, it's more the same. Muted tones, copy-paste cabins, and seats that come from just a handful of suppliers. In today's world, where seemingly every brand is screaming for your attention, this seems oddly outdated. With just how competitive the industry is, you'd think that airlines would want to stand out, not blend in. And yet that is exactly what they do. However, there's one small airline that's bucking the trend. And in the process, its new identity has become a lightning rod in aviation circles. But whether you love it or you hate it, one thing is clear. What the airline's done is absolutely brilliant. Let me explain. Now, as we'll see in a moment, it can be really valuable for airlines to have a distinct identity, but it's just as important for you to protect your own. And while airlines can use tools like trademarks and copyright to safeguard theirs, you and I can't. And that's a problem because there are hundreds of data brokers out there that are actively selling your personal info, like your name, address, phone number, and email. But thanks to Delete Me, today's sponsor, you can better safeguard your most sensitive information. Delete Me is a privacy service that monitors hundreds of these shady data brokers on your behalf, and then actually gets your data removed. Within days of starting to use it, I got a full report that showed me where exactly my data was found and how Delete Me got it taken down. And Delete Me is a proactive solution, constantly monitoring to ensure that your data doesn't pop back up. If you live your life online, and let's be honest, you're watching this video, so I'm sure you are, it's definitely worth keeping your info safe. And if you go to joindeleteme.com/KobeExplains and use the code KobeExplains at checkout, you'll get 20% off. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to it. Now, in order to understand why so few airlines bother standing out, we need to understand who their most important clients are. Business travelers. Up to 75% of an airline's revenue comes from those flying in premium cabins, so it makes sense to prioritize their needs above all else. And for these people, flying isn't a treat. It's a chore, just another part of doing business. All they want from an airline is a convenient, comfortable, and consistent way of getting from point A to point B. As a result, most airlines spend their money elsewhere. Swanky lounges, expansive networks, robust loyalty programs, all of these things help to attract and retain business travelers. Meanwhile, building up a unique brand is a frivolous expense. It just doesn't move the needle. But Condor plays a different game. Sure, they have a very nice premium product, which we'll talk about later. But for most of its history, the airline's most important customer hasn't been business travelers. It's vacationers.
In Germany, we are known as the #1 leisure airline. So when someone is going on vacation, I want to go to the Caribbean, or I want to go to the Seychelles or Canary Islands or Greece, the first airline that comes to mind is, I'm flying Condor there. A lot of those destinations that we fly to, the Caribbean and the Seychelles, they're winter destinations. So traditionally during the summer, we've shifted a lot of that long-haul capacity to the US and Canada.
Now, these travelers have a totally different set of priorities than your typical road warrior. They probably only fly a couple times a year, so a robust point system isn't much of a draw. They usually sit in coach, so lie flats aren't typically part of the equation, and they often jet off to well-known tourist spots, so they don't need a complex global network. In other words, all of the traditional tools that airlines use to build loyalty just don't land in the same way. That's why it's historically so difficult for leisure airlines to draw repeat customers. The only way to do so is by offering the lowest fare.
Everyone is price conscious in today's environment. Everyone's looking for a deal. I even find myself, I get a motivational boost when I find a deal on a shirt or a suit. I feel like I beat the system, right?
This puts leisure airlines in a really tough spot. Many feel like cutting costs is the only way to bring back passengers, but Condor saw something that others didn't. Sure, its type of clientele can pose a challenge, but they also come with a hidden opportunity. But before we talk about that hidden opportunity, I wanted to mention that YouTube Analytics tells me that 75% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you like this kind of aviation analysis and want to support my work, hitting that button and bell is a great way to do so. Thanks. So what's the opportunity that Condor spotted? Well, they realized that for these people, flying isn't routine. It's an occasion, marking the start of something big, like a honeymoon, a family vacation, or a much-needed break from work. Condor felt that if they could tap into the emotions of that moment, if they could make the airline experience an integral part of the vacation memory, then maybe they could build a loyal following. So they pursued a radical but also simple idea. Build a brand so unique and so unmissable that whenever someone sees one of their planes, they're immediately reminded of their holiday, stirring up all those warm, fuzzy feelings. Enter the stripes. In April 2022, Condor's first A330neo rolled out of the paint hangar, and boy did it turn heads. Gone were the muted golds, grays, and blues that had adorned its jets for years. In their place were bold, colorful stripes that wrapped around the fuselage, an explicit reference to the German vacation experience.
It is the beach towels, the beach parasels, the whole theme of what you see at the beach. So that's where the stripes come from, but they all represent a certain theme. So the green represents the islands, the blue represents the oceans. The yellow here represents the sun. Usually, vacation, you want the sun. We have a beigeish color, which is then the sand. And then we have a red color, which talks about passion that Condor has in regards to servicing customers well. It's a fantastic theme.
Now, the reactions to this new design were both immediate and polarized. Some people absolutely loved it, but others really didn't. And the fact that the livery debuted right after April Fool's Day left some people wondering if they'd been pranked. Of course, the change was very real, and no matter whether you loved it or you hated it, one thing was abundantly clear. Everybody had an opinion. Everybody was talking about it. For a small airline like Condor, who flies less than a tenth as many passengers as its neighbor Lufthansa, this exposure was priceless.
We've been around since 1956, so people have grown accustomed to Condor looking a certain way, and then all of a sudden we come with this very lively striped Condor livery that's kind of everywhere, and some people were not, as you said, receptive. When we look at today's environment, I would say that it's grown that 90% of those who see the stripes, they enjoy the stripes. The stripes are referred to by everyone in a different way. It's the colored zebras, it's the referees, it's the airline candy cane. Everyone has their own version of the stripes. I think this talks to the fun of the brand.
After the rebrand, the airline went from just another player in a crowded field to being instantly recognizable. And the numbers back that up. According to Google search trends, brand awareness in Germany shot up by more than 40% within a year.
I see people and travelers who are just walking the halls of the airports and maybe sitting for other departure gates, all of a sudden come and take pictures and selfies of Condor and the striped aircraft that's behind. I'm getting texts and WhatsApp messages from people here in the US who are saying, I saw the stripes flying over us in Seattle. I saw them coming into JFK. I saw the green one today. It does bring an element of fun, of something completely different. I've said many times, I think it's the most eye-catching livery that's out there at any airport. I can definitely see from even this very short 3-year experience with the stripes, it is causing a lot of discussion. I think that's what a brand and a well-designed brand needs to do. It needs to raise discussion, raise awareness.
But here's the thing, having a bold livery is only gonna get you so far. Passengers might spend, 30, 45 minutes maybe sitting at the gate looking at their plane. If you're on a long-haul flight like I am, from Frankfurt to San Francisco, you're going to be spending far longer in the cabin itself. So it was just as important for Condor to bring this striped motif inside the cabin as well. Let me tell you, they're everywhere. You'll find them on the entryway, the headrests, the wallpaper, the beer cans, the amenity kits, the blankets, the slippers, the list goes on. Now, I know that might sound overwhelming, but it really isn't. Condor struck such a nice balance here because they've rotated through different color palettes across the aircraft. This has allowed the stripes to be omnipresent without feeling overbearing, and the result is a cabin that feels fresh, cohesive, and most importantly, unmistakably Condor. What Condor has done here is pretty remarkable. This small airline, one with unpredictable customers, is now punching well above its weight class. They've achieved the kind of global recognition that most brands can only dream of, and they did so not by outspending everyone else, but by outsmarting them.
There are a lot of bold moves that we're doing, and we're doing this with very limited resources. It's a low margin industry, so you have to find bold ways to kind of, really make your point. Condor making the investment decision during the pandemic, bold move. Condor moving a bit away from mid-level markets to flying in the major hubs against the major competition. JFK, Boston, Seattle, San Francisco, LAX, Toronto. A bold move in the stripes, the branding, another bold move.
All that being said, I should probably mention that Condor's approach does carry risk. If something goes wrong, if the seat sucks, or the food's bad, or the service is slow, this unmissable branding will have the opposite of its intended effect. In the minds of those wronged passengers, there's going to be no mistaking which airline screwed up. So to accompany the rebrand, Condor debuted a fresh passenger experience too.
When you want to be out there, you know there are risks, but I think when you know that you're putting in a strong effort towards the quality, I think you're confident enough that, hey, let's do it. I want to tell the world about this fantastic product that we have.
Of course, the headlining feature here is its new flagship, the Airbus A330neo. This plane is a huge step forward in terms of passenger comfort. And while I won't go into extensive detail here, we've already covered the Neo in depth on this channel, here's what really matters. It's whisper quiet, it has cozy mood lighting, and it has some of the widest coach seats in the business. Another equally important reason that Condor chose the Neo is because of availability. With a rebrand like this, consistency is key. The last thing that Condor wants is to promise customers this new stripey experience, only for them to step on board one of their older, outdated aircraft. This can quickly break trust and tarnish the rebranding efforts. But thanks to the hard work of the teams at both Airbus and Condor, this refleeting effort was really quick. Condor got these jets into service in record time.
The refleeting, our first aircraft came in December 2022, and now today we're at 18. So the refleeting has been probably, I would say, one of the quickest long-haul aircraft fleetings that you can see by any airline, and we're extremely proud of that. 2025 is also the first year that we're flying each and every flight with our Neos on the long haul. So we have 18 of them now, and it's great to have a new product on the market. It's great to have a consistent product on the market for long hauls. So exciting times.
Now, there is no doubt that these efforts have helped Condor better attract and retain its core customers. But it's also had a secondary effect. It's allowed them to reach outside its traditional clientele and diversify its operations.
With the new Neos that we do have, them having a 30 business, 64 premium economy, this has meant that over the past 2 years, we've also had to look into other segments. So we are also today, in today's environment, working more with the corporate traveler, with TMCs. We are more widespread in regards to the segments that we want to touch with the product, and it's definitely important.
Now look, I've flown plenty of European airlines in business class, and this new business product can go toe-to-toe with pretty much any of them. The fully flat beds are a massive upgrade from the old recliners, and every seat now has direct aisle access. If you pick one of the prime seats in the first row, the amount of space is kind of wild, easily enough to share a meal with your travel partner if that's your thing. And speaking of meals, I found myself wanting to try everything on the menu. I genuinely can't remember the last time I felt that way about airplane food. Plus, the plating, presentation, and taste were all top-notch. The crew was also great. Friendly, efficient, and clearly used to working together, which is a huge perk of working for a small carrier where everyone knows each other. It made for one of the smoother services that I'd had on a European carrier. When taken in conjunction, these upgrades have made Condor more than competitive in the premium market, and it gives them a real opportunity to shift upmarket if they choose. And all of this stems from its bold rebranding effort. At the end of the day, Condor has done something that really no other airline's done before. Given the amount of buzz that the airline generates, you'd have no idea how small it is. They've proven that you don't need to be a massive player to become an icon. All it takes is a willingness to think outside the box. And for that reason, it's one of the smartest moves we've seen in the airline industry in a long time. So what do you guys think? Have Condor stripes grown on you, or do you hate them? And if you like them, would they actually convince you to fly the airline? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping to make this video possible. If you like what I do and want to help the channel grow, go ahead and check out this link right here. And as always, if you learned something new today, leave a like and subscribe to keep learning. And until I see you again, don't forget to look up.